And then finally, there's the perspective circle. A lot of times I've run into people who feel like this one event is a tie to this one story and that's it. Right? There's nothing else there. No, 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 no. These things that have happened to you yield several stories. It's another way of interrogating these experiences, right? So you start with what happened, right? Next one is how did you feel when it happened? And the last one is how did others experience it? I'll give you an example, kind of a goofy story, but it's a story. So when I was a kid, I was obsessed with Wonder Woman. That was my superhero. Loved Wonder Woman. So when Halloween came around, I'm not sure whose idea it was, to be honest. In second grade, I was going to go to school as Wonder Woman, right? My mother did not want her 8-year-old to be walking around the school in a leotard. So what she did was she made me, because she was this is a seamstress, she made me a costume. This costume, now this is the 70s, um, included, instead of a leotard bottom, culottes. Now, those of you who are of a certain age, culottes are just long shorts that come below the knee, and they were polyester. I remember that. I had a white t-shirt on, and then I had this felt, there used to be a lot of felt around in the 70s. I had this felt cape on, and she had this pressed on letters that said Wonder Woman, just in case anyone was confused. I had a little tiara, and then I had a little band around my wrist that had a rope, because, I got made people tell the truth. So that's what I went to school in. All right. So that's what happened. And I used to tell that story as ha ha ha. My mother sent me to school looking like Wonder Woman who works in human resources, right? That was the story. But when I went through this experience, as I was building out this perspective circle, I thought, holy crap, there's a lot more to this story as I think about it, right? All right, so I think that's what happened. Those are the facts. That's it. How did I feel when it happened? Well, I think that when this is a little sort of retrofitty in that, do I remember, how I felt? I kind of actually do remember. I remember feeling like this isn't going to go over well. I was already teased, like this is not going to slide at all. But when I got there, people were cool. People were asking me questions about this costume, like this is really a good costume. Like people wanted to know the origin of my Wonder Woman. They wanted to know, what they wanted to see, the rope. They wanted to see. I was really surprised. I'm like, you guys gonna let this slide? I can't believe that. And then as I was thinking about that, I remember something else that happened. When we went to lunch, I don't know about your elementary school, but mine, there was just always a series of lines. We were just like always in lines. And so we had to be in line, and we were waiting in the hallway across from the classroom along the lockers. And all of a sudden I look over and I see a girl. Yes, I remember her name, Claudine Montague, which was already pretty enough for for a second grader. She had on an actual Wonder Woman costume, right? This boy in my class pointed to me and said, that's not Wonder Woman, and pointed to Claudine and said, that's the real Wonder Woman, and then just fade to black. I was mortified, completely mortified. I don't know what happened after that, right? I forgot all about that happened until I went to this experience, right? So how did I feel when that happened? Well, I felt a strong sense of shame, right? That I knew there was a reason my mother didn't want me to walk around in a leotard. And secretly, I sure as heck didn't want to walk around in a leotard. So it's almost like an 8-year-old's introduction to body shame, like, for the first time, right? So then I go to the next layer. How did others experience it? This lets me broaden the story out a little further. The first person I think of is my mother. My mother, she didn't have the internet. How do I make a fairly obscure, deconstructed Wonder Woman outfit? She didn't have that. She had to use her own imagination to try to please what her girl wanted, yet at the same time be within the spirit of DC Comics, right? So, bless her for pulling that together. And before I started digging into this story, it was just a big joke. Like, what was she thinking? Now I'm like, wow, that was pretty was pretty amazing for her to pull that together. I think about the kids who let it slide, right? And I think about how, back then a costume was a plastic sheet with a body on it, and let's be honest, usually white, with these masks that were usually white. And these kids, that's what they had to wear. But I had a custom, vintage, deconstructed Wonder Woman outfit on. That was pretty amazing. And they saw that. They saw that. They saw that energy. They saw what I was serving. But I didn't, right? So I think, wow, that's probably why, right? And then finally, I think of Claudine. It was clear from the look on her face that she did not want to be in that leotard. The look, I remember her covering her face when he said that. And I thought, wow, this is Two Girls' introduction to body shaming. And I thought, wow, that this one story about Kulaks and Wonder Woman turns into at least 4 different stories. One about, my mother trying to do something for her daughter, yet at the same time staying true to her values. A story about kids being able to see something that I couldn't see myself, that the originality of this costume and how lucky I was that my mother didn't have me go to school in a leotard, and how Claudine probably felt at that moment that she didn't have to wear a leotard either. So one instance can break into these many, many, many different stories. Okay. So when you think you have no stories to tell, this is when you want to use it. Repurpose your old playlist and think about, okay, how can I take this one story and break it into 50, right? Use the perspective circle itself to talk about growth and how you changed after those experiences that you've had.